So lots of work on finishing today. Is that a coincidence or?
No, we got to keep working on it, obviously. And, today we know that it was just 2 days out from a game, so it's not going to be a super strenuous session. So we just wanted to do some stuff close to goal and just work on some finishing, get some, patterns in, things like that. We got to continue to work on it until the ice breaks.
What hadn't Mauro and Hurtado showed you that led to their kind of reduced role for Champions League, and what they do to kind of get back into the starting role?
I thought Mauro came off the bench against Santos and played well, and based upon that, he got a shot again. Also with minutes played, and Martinez was carrying a little bit of a knock, so that made sense. Zach had played 2 games in a row there. It's a little bit of a tighter turnaround, and Kennedy had trained well.
Had Mauro not been showing you enough in the early part of the year?
We haven't played well as a team. So, when you don't play well as a team, then you start looking at what combinations might work a little bit better, so.
Is Mario's skill set such that he could get a shot at forward?
Is whose?
Mario Martinez.
We need forwards who are going to get in on the end of crosses. People are going to get in and sacrifice themselves and look to get on the end of things and get into the mix. We need at least one of our forwards needs to do that at all times. I don't think that's Mario Martinez's his strength.
What did you think about Lamar's play? Seemed to thrive in a role that he hasn't necessarily filled in terms of being up top and.
Yeah. I mean, he's played forward for us before when he was here in the first go-around. I mean, it's someplace that he played. He played in the USL. He played a whole season up there, and was leading scorer, I think, that year for them. So, he did, like I said after the game, he did what I asked him to do. He stayed high. He occupied the 2 center backs. He made runs in the spaces. He stretched their defense. Wanted him to get more on the end of things, be a little more dangerous at times, but all the other things he did well.
Good to see a player like that where they're maybe struggling to get minutes, and then when they do get them, kind of make the most of them, like he has the last 2 games.
Yeah, you always want a player to make the most of the minutes that he gets, and so Lamar, the last 2 games we've put him in up top. He got a goal in the Santos game, which was important for us, and now we just need him to get a goal in the league.
The passing seems to have improved markedly over the last few weeks. How big of a part of that is Shalry, and is that giving him too much credit for?
I mean, our passing, I don't think our passing has been our issue, at any part of the season. When you look back and you look at whatever you want to look at, stats of possession percentage, or if you look at pass completion percentage, et cetera, I think sometimes, as in all games, you got to look at when's the opportunity to go forward, and can you go forward now? Is this the right time to go forward? Everybody possesses the ball with the intent of trying to create openings, and everybody has possession. What was the phrase I heard last night all the time on TV? Possession with a purpose. It's like that's something, a new concept or something revolutionary. I think you always try and keep possession of the ball to create something. That's the whole idea of it. And Shalry is a good passer. He finds those forward passes, and one of the things we've been working on is trying to find forward passes a little bit quicker.
When you and Ezra debriefed from the reserve game today, what do you need to learn about the performance down there of those guys?
Just how guys played. And there's guys down there that are going to get opportunities to play up front. Zabaleta, Ochoa, Bates is going to get some minutes up front. We're going to see how Ayani is, what his status is. So just checking on players as to where they're at right now, where their performance level is at. If somebody's showing up, that he can do something, up front for us as well. And how Lund plays, coming a little more from a wide role instead of up front. All of those things are things we'll talk about. So.
Zabaleta scored. How would you kind of assess how he's been since we saw him in San Jose and haven't really saw him?
I mean, I haven't talked to Ezra, so I don't know. I mean, the goal could have hit him in the rear end and gone in. You don't know, So you hope it's a good finish off a cross, or it's something that's positive. But he's done all right. It's just like sometimes you're in line waiting for your turn.
I realize it's just Monday, but might you be fully stocked at forward again by the weekend?
Don't know. Too hard to predict at this stage.
Is Estrada cleared now, though?
No, he still can't head the ball. That's why I was on his case. I said you should have headed that one, and I realized he's not allowed to head the ball. So.
How's this team miss with Brad out of the lineup?
Brad is another guy who talks on the field, and he gives you energy. Not that the other guys don't give you energy or aren't willing to sacrifice everything, but he just has he has a good sense sometimes of what needs to get done. You know, when a tackle needs to get won, or he's a guy who, if he's playing in a wide position, he'll crash the box. You know, he's a guy who tries to get in the box, as evidenced by the goal he scored against Salt Lake. You know, so he's always somebody that I think gives us some positives, and you know, to a certain extent he's a role player, but he's a positive role player for us.
How big have the absences of Eddie and Oba been, and is there any sense that there's maybe do you feel like there's almost an over-reliance on thinking that once those guys get back we'll start scoring?
Well, you can't take it that way. You can't say, okay, once these guys come back, then all our problems are solved. But on the same token, reality is that, you know, we haven't had a full practice. You know, we haven't had a chance to work on any sort of these combinations or anything like that with the whole group. You know, we haven't been able. You know, I think what is it now? We've played 9 different lineups in 9 different games or something. You know, so we've had to mix the lineup all the time. We haven't found any consistency in that form. So from that standpoint, missing the forwards certainly hurts. You know, missing key players like an Evans at certain times just makes it a little bit harder for you to establish your rhythm and get into a flow. And you know, I mean, you don't want to point to that as an excuse or so forth, but you know, we're at a stage that, you know, obviously we know we got to win, and that's the pressure we put on ourselves. It's not like when you look at our last 2 games, you know, even 2.5 games, you go back to the second half against Salt Lake, it's not like we've been terrible. You know, I think we've played fairly well in that period of time. It's just a matter of us making sure that we bang away the goals. And if we can, you know, we've got 2 games in hand on a lot of teams ahead of us. If we can win those 2 games in hand, then, you know, there's a whole bunch of teams tied at 8. You know, then so it's just a matter, like I said, of us not panicking, of us believing in what we can do, but also recognizing that there's some urgency there too. You know, that we don't want to keep waiting, that we want to get it done, you know, sooner rather than later. But believing in what we're doing, because what we're doing is the right thing. We're just, you know, we got to just finish the product at the end of the day.
Do you feel any differently about the group that you've assembled now than you did maybe a month and a half ago?
You know, you always question things when you're not winning, and you're saying, should we do this or should we do that? I think the right group is still here, and in the vast majority. Obviously, there's some on the edges. There's some tinkering and things like that can be done or could be done. You know, so you see, and you're always paying attention, and you're looking, and you're trying to decide if something makes sense that would help your team. But on the same token, I think there's enough talent here to get the job done. I don't think there's a lot of teams in this league that would say, "Oh, I hope we get to play the Sounders. They're not very good." I don't think anybody's out there saying that.
You had mentioned after the game the knock to Trey Murray. Do you have a sense of how he is?
Yeah, we just held him out today. Went a little bit easy with him today. I mean, he went through the whole warm-up, and he would have done more, but I didn't want him to do any more. So his knee's getting better, and I think he rolled his ankle a little bit, but it's not too severe.
Besides him and Estrada, were all the other guys pretty much, you know, full in the drills that you were doing?
Oba was still a little bit limited, you know, so we played him as a neutral player.
They asked me to do an ad, and I thought, cool. They want me because I play for the Seattle Sounders. Then I find out it's because my wife told them I'm a good dad. Even better. For me, being a good father is much more important than soccer. So here's my message. Be a good parent. Stay involved with your kid's life. Do something with them, anything. Take a walk, read a book, maybe go see a Sounders game. We can make it better for our kids by staying involved and showing that we love them.